Good day, YouTube. Welcome to another episode of Cryptolite. My name is Dan, and today I will be talking to you about Utrust. Utrust is a blockchain project that I like very much. They aim to replace the world's biggest payment platform, PayPal. And in terms of what they offer, I do think they are offering a better product than PayPal at the moment. To learn why I support Utrust, please keep watching. Most people's impression of Utrust is that they are trying to be the crypto version of PayPal, but actually Utrust is so much more than that. The first thing you will notice when you search for Utrust on CoinMarketCap is that they have two websites, an older website and a newer website. The newer one is very modern and pretty and useful if you are searching for information as either a buyer, merchant, or token holder. The older website, though, is more concise and easier to navigate if you just want a quick overview of the whole project. But actually, in my opinion, the best place to go for information is actually their white paper. Now, usually white papers are very technical and hard to understand, which is why a lot of lay investors avoid reading the white paper, even though people always tell you that we should read the white paper. But Utrust white paper is the simplest, easiest to read white paper that I've come across. It's not crowded, it's nicely spaced out, it's well planned, and it has diagrams to help people understand the technical details, which is not very technical at all. It also includes a neat content page that includes the executive summary, the vision, the problem they identified, the solution they're trying to bring, the token mechanics, the market fit, the timeline, the milestones, the team, etc. And while this may sound like common sense kind of content that white papers should have, you'll be surprised how many white papers miss out on all these details. It's basically a very holistic white paper that is pitched perfectly for the lay investor in mind. So from the word go, I guess it gives me a very good impression of the company that they are trying to help people to understand their project, not just overwhelm in terms of technical details. So what is Utrust and what makes it special? As you've probably worked out by now, Utrust is a payment platform very much like PayPal or other payment platforms that you use to pay for your online purchases. Now, like any payment platform out there are three entities in the project. There is the buyer, there is the merchant or the seller, and the middleman, which is the payment system, in this case, Utrust. From the point of the buyer, the main difference will be that the buyer gets to pay in cryptocurrency. And this is actually a huge thing. You see, the two biggest hurdles for mass adoption of cryptocurrency in the world at the moment is one, how to buy crypto, and number two, how to use the crypto. Things like volatility or security in the project are final points that industrial investors or serious investors will consider when we want to buy crypto. But to the lay person on the street who is not invested in cryptocurrency yet, the main reason they have no interest in cryptocurrency is because they can't use it. So Utrust is attempting to offer easy online shopping with cryptocurrency that, if it takes off, will be a real stepping stone not just for the company but for the mass adoption of cryptocurrency. So that is the first reason why I support Utrust. Buyers do get additional added benefits as well. The first advantage is a low transaction fee. Utrust transaction fees are only 1%, whereas PayPal's transaction fees currently range between 2.9%, so basically 3% to 5%. Now, the reason PayPal's fees are so much higher is because as a payment platform, PayPal partners with other financial institutions and payment services, and each participant in the whole payment process needs to get a cut of the transaction. So in order to provide a broad service, PayPal needs a lot of partners and thus the higher transaction costs that they cannot actually reduce. Utrust, though, is a blockchain project where the entire system runs on smart contracts, which is independent and dependable. But also, cryptocurrency transactions themselves are cheap and fast. That is why it can charge ridiculously lower fees compared to PayPal. Buyers also get the choice of using the funds from any of their existing cryptocurrency wallets, so they don't have to actually create an account if they don't want to, unlike PayPal where you have to have an account. I presume this is because the blockchain itself is a very untamperable, reliable source of transaction. And this feature essentially rules out all credit card frauds because only the buyer has access to his or her own private key, so there is no chance of a third party gaining access to their funds. Now, at the point of purchase, there will be a very open description of the total amount to be paid, including the 1% commission. And this is updated every 2 minutes. It needs to be updated because the crypto is converted to fiat immediately, so you need an updated exchange rate. And finally, the buyers get buyer's protection. You know how sometimes you buy something online with your credit card, but it never gets delivered? In this case, after the buyer confirms the transaction, there is two levels of protection. The first is something similar to an escrow account, where the fiat amount is held in the Utrust system until they have proof that the transaction has happened. Then they release the escrow to the merchant. Now, the merchant or the sellers have a rating system. So merchants with good reputations can get the escrow within seconds, whereas new merchants with no reputations might take up to a few days to get their funds released. Basically, they need more confirmation of the transaction before releasing it to the merchants without a good reputation. And if the reputation system wasn't enough, Utrust also introduces a dispute system. The dispute system allows the buyer to contact the merchant directly to resolve the issue. But should this fail in 7 days, there is the option for Utrust to enter as the mediator. However, if the buyer or the seller escalates to this level, there will be a cost of a fee of 2% at refund, and the party that is ruled out of favor according to whomever Utrust thinks has done wrong, that party will suffer a downgrade in their rating. The low buyer purchase risk extends to all purchases on Utrust, where on traditional payment platforms like PayPal, they only cover the purchase of physical goods. And in other crypto-based services like BitPay, they do not cover anything at all. But on Utrust, you can cover anything from physical goods to software. Now, Utrust isn't just a win for the buyer, it's also a win for the merchants. The first advantage for merchants is payment processing. As mentioned before, there is a buyer protection scheme which is very attractive to buyers, and usually this comes at the expense of longer payment processing times for the merchant to receive their funds. But with the reputation system we mentioned above, potentially merchants with good reputations could get their funds as quick as within seconds. The second benefit is the low cost rate. Utrust has only 1% payment fees for the merchant and no cost for the buyer, with access to the best exchange rates. Other traditional payment services like PayPal, as we mentioned above, start their fees at 2.9% but can go up to 5% with hidden fees. Next is the range of cryptocurrencies that is accepted. Some other crypto services like BitPay only accept Bitcoin, whereas Utrust aims to accept most of the top cryptos, example Bitcoin, Ether, Litecoin, Dash, Monero, and more. Another big advantage for merchants is no chargebacks. A chargeback is when a buyer makes a complaint about a faulty good that they have received and the bank or the mediator forces the merchant to refund the cost. Chargeback cost companies $6.7 billion in 2016, and credit card chargebacks are increasing at a rate of 20% per year. The reason why credit card chargebacks are so affected is because there are many cases of credit card frauds, and so people challenge the purchase and have to be refunded. Whereas purchase on Utrust is done on a blockchain project, and again there is no risk of credit card fraud. Therefore, it prevents chargebacks and makes transactions very straightforward, saving the company both time and money. Unlike other crypto payment platforms, because the buyer's funds are immediately converted to fiat, there is no merchant's risk here at all of price volatility. Implementation of the payment software is also made very easy. It's a simple addition of a payment API added onto the website and can be in addition to current accepted forms of payment already. So example, PayPal. So basically merchants have nothing to lose by trying out Utrust. In fact, by accepting cryptocurrency, it opens the merchant up to a whole new market of crypto enthusiasts who are looking for avenues to use their cryptocurrency in circular lives. If you look at the expression of interest recently with the Pay credit card that was supposed to have come out, or 10x, which is a blockchain credit card project, there is so much interest by the crypto community to have some means to pay real-world goods and services with cryptocurrency. So I really think the market is ripe for a service like Utrust, and which is even better and more secure than a simple credit card. Now, remember how I told you that in a payment platform there are three parties? There is the buyer, the merchant, and the payment processor. Well, in this case of the Utrust project, there is actually one more member in the whole picture, and that is the token holder, you and me. What are the benefits to us for purchasing and holding Utrust tokens? There are two main benefits to token holders. The first is zero payment fees. Remember the very low 1% fee I mentioned to you earlier? Any transactions with Utrust tokens will be exempt even this low fee to be completely free. This is a very smart system because it encourages the use of the currency where it actually increases the value of the currency. You see, at the moment in crypto world, there are two main ways to increase the value of any currency or token. One is to use it more, and the other is to decrease its available supply, in other words, to do a coin burn. So charging no fees is good for both the token holders as well as the Utrust company itself. The second benefit that Utrust token holders have is to do with the coin burn, so to reduce the overall supply and therefore increase the price or the value of each token. Utrust has a coin burn system where every transaction that occurs with Utrust tokens will result in a small percentage of Utrust tokens being permanently burned. At the moment, they have 1 billion token supply, and they have a maximum burn of 50 million tokens per year, down to a minimum of 100 million tokens. This will take like 18 years to happen. So many years from now, even excluding other factors, a Utrust token will be literally worth 10 times what it is worth now. And the interesting thing about this whole setup is that the rate of inflation will actually increase, because think of it this way. 50 million tokens right now out of a 1 billion tokens is 5% of the total value. So that's kind of significant, but it's not huge. But when the total supply, okay, in like 15 or 16 years time is down to 200 million tokens only, burning 50 million tokens that year means that the token supply will reduce by 25%, or the token price will go up by 25% that year just from the coin burn itself. So the inflation rate of the token is only going to increase yearly, making it more and more attractive to investors as the years go by. Especially if we expect over the years for the crypto market to gain some maturity and see more stability, meaning less crazy jumps in prices that we are seeing today. 10 years, 20 years from now, you're not going to see the 20x, 50x that you're seeing today, but then you won't see the 20x to 50x losses that you're seeing today as well. Now, the long-term coin burn also means now, before the platform launch, that now is the cheapest time to buy and hodl the token if we truly believe in the project. Now let's take a look at the roadmap, and this is particularly important for this project, and I'll explain why. So here in front is their roadmap, and firstly you will notice that since their ICO opened last year in September, there's basically been no major events or updates until the second quarter of this year. This is a major reason why Utrust has kind of gone under the radar, because there was no new updates, and the crypto space since then has been flooded with tons of new upcoming projects. So I believe at the start of this year, it got kind of buried under the ton of new projects coming on, and a lot of new investors really came on in the late December, early January period, where we had the altcoin massive bull run. So a lot of them who came on in that period would have missed out on the ICO in September, so they actually wouldn't be aware of what Utrust is at all. Okay. The platform test API for merchants is actually due to be launched in the second quarter, but actually the specific date has been set as the 19th of April. So this is happening at the Amsterdam Zero In conference, and is in the early part of the second quarter, which is why now at the end of the first quarter in March is a good time to start looking at Utrust again, because we know that approaching big and new milestones on the roadmap is always a good time for new interest in any project. Their client API and their wallet app is due to be launched in the third quarter of this year, and finally the actual platform is due to be launched by the fourth quarter of this year. Now, not only is this significant in terms of building momentum, because they have a lot of milestones in a very set period of time, building a lot of momentum and interest in the project, but it also means that they will probably be ahead of the competition. Now, Utrust's main competitors can be split into two groups. The first is the traditional fiat payment processing platforms, of which PayPal is the biggest competitor, and the other groups of competitors are other blockchain payment platforms. Now, Utrust is a good project, but the truth is this space of payment platform blockchain projects is fast becoming very crowded with a lot of other similar projects. Examples include Coti, Cos, Moneta, Verify, etc. In fact, some of these services offer even more features than Utrust. Example, a credit card or debit card attached to the platform. And a lot of these other projects are also very decent projects. So it's basically going to come down to a race to the finish lines to see who gets the bigger market share. Now, I have to admit, I don't know all the other projects in this space as well as I know Utrust because I haven't looked into all of them in as much detail. But my personal impression at this point, in terms of a true other multi-cryptocurrency payment platform, Coti probably stands out as the next major contender. And likely both these projects will find their own space in the market in the long term, but there is certainly a first mover's advantage. Now, Coti's roadmap, if I'm right, is a bit longer. Their wallet only comes out in the fourth quarter of this year, and their full nodes only in the second quarter of next year. So Utrust's roadmap here has the time advantage, and so far they have been keeping to their roadmap, so we hope that they will manage to stick to their roadmap to the end of the year. Now, this isn't to say that Utrust is the first in the market. By no means is that so. There are other crypto payment platforms that are already out there and established, for example, BitPay, which Utrust white paper keeps comparing itself to. But I actually feel that comparing itself to BitPay is a bit like comparing apples to oranges. BitPay was like first generation and Utrust is second generation. So a newer generation payment platform will have different advantages compared to its predecessors. Example, the multi-cryptocurrency advantage. So I feel it's more appropriate to compare it to a second-gen payment platform project like Coti rather than BitPay. Also, PayPal, the giant, is not sitting back either. For those who have been following our crypto news, you'll be aware that recently PayPal had an article that announced PayPal files patent for faster cryptocurrency payment system. So PayPal is definitely feeling the pressure from these crypto payment projects, and PayPal wants in on the market as well. We can probably assume that PayPal's crypto payment plans are still quite in the early days, and we hope that Utrust will still get the first mover's advantage. But we'll have to see because PayPal is a company with a lot of resources behind it. The second reason I support Utrust is more of a personal reason, and it's because the spirit of blockchain is decentralization, meaning it's about taking the big companies who hog the bulk of the profits out of the picture and returning the wealth back to the masses. So I'm more inclined to support the underdog blockchain companies with solid projects, example Utrust, especially if their service can offer a much better deal than the giants like PayPal out there, which at the moment it does. But we'll have to keep our eye on this space to see what PayPal offers when it does launch its own crypto payment gateway. It might be even better than for all we know. The last thing to mention about the roadmap before we move on to the team is about the potential dump of the pre-ICO in late August this year. Now, Utrust had its pre-ICO late last year in late August, and it was very, very successful. They sold 100 million tokens worth about 1.5 million fiat, then within 90 minutes, okay? But that works out to be about 1.5 cents per token. So that's really, really cheap. But there was a lock-in period for the pre-ICO, but not the ICO, just the pre-ICO for 1 year. I think the ICO token price was about 6 cents, so it's actually 4 times higher. And that pre-ICO lock-in period ends this late August. Okay, so despite a potentially busy roadmap, some people who have been holding on to the pre-ICO for 1 year might get impatient, and we might potentially see a sell-off price and the price dip on that day. All right, let's look at their team. Their website has nice big profile pics and brief resumes of each person. The new website shows 12 team members, but their old website shows up to 25 team members. Their white paper still shows the 25 team members, and so I'm just assuming that the new website shows the leaders of the various departments and not every member. Now, 25 members is actually a very big number for a blockchain project. Most projects have about 10 members, some even less than that. The CEO of their team is Nuno Correia, and he's an early crypto investor and a successful co-founder of several B2C ventures. Their CIO, who is Felipe Castro, is an MBA with an MSing with early career in the development of software solutions, including electronic payment system. His experience includes small ventures in Scandinavia, complemented with a brief advisory role in China. Their CTO, who is Arthur Golau, okay, his resume is impressive. He's the former CTO of a leading digital payment platform company and the current head of development of a Swiss-based cybersecurity company. He excels in research and development of software-related payment systems in either classical or smart contract-based approach. His background is computer science from IST and MIT. You can go through the website to look at the rest of the team. But what I will say is that on the whole, the team looks pretty young. And if you go through their resumes, the working experience of each of them is about 5 to 10 years in their field. They have all been successful in the 5 to 10 years that they've been working, and they have almost all been in the blockchain scene since the early 210, 211, which is basically the beginning. The other thing that is very good about the team is that they are very diverse in their profile. So it's not a team that is too tech heavy or too marketing heavy. Probably because they have such large numbers, they can afford to be diverse and balanced. But you'll be surprised how many blockchain teams out there are actually very unbalanced in their team composition. They are still advertising for several positions, for example, a growth manager, product manager, more software developers, etc. So a growing team is good sign because it's indicating that things are happening behind the scenes. And as mentioned before, it's already a very big team for a blockchain project. So perhaps what they lack in experience, they are certainly making up for it in manpower. Now, what I was looking for here was hoping to see a list of advisors or big investors, and I couldn't see it on their website, which initially got me worried because they are quite a young team, and as an investor, I would like to know that they have the covering of someone more experienced. Also, their niche is taking on PayPal, one of the biggest companies in the world, so you definitely want some heavyweights in your corner to help with advice and market penetration. Now, I did manage to find a list of their advisors on ICObench.com, but this is information from back in their ICO days, so I don't know whether it's still relevant, but I can't imagine them losing their advisors. The list of advisors here include Arthur Zubkov, okay, who has a background in technology, business, and banking at Standard Chartered Bank, and is also very involved in projects, other blockchain projects, including 10x. So that's a very decent advisor to have on board. When I try and click on the other advisors though, the page comes up blank. So there is no information provided for any of the other advisors, which is a bit disappointing. So I think this aspect of their project about their advisors, the team could perhaps be a little bit more transparent about, because I'm sure some other investors will also be looking out for this information. They do have positive media coverage, which is great because they do need the publicity and the early market advantage before the rest of the competition floods in. Media coverage so far includes big platforms like Forbes, Yahoo, HuffPost, and TNW. The news, though, are all really old articles back in 2017. So hopefully with the new upcoming events on their roadmap, we will start seeing new news articles from this year. One piece of news I am hoping to hear about them, which I couldn't find, is about them aiming or penetrating the Asian market. This is because their business is online shopping, and Korea is the largest online shopping nation in the whole world, and Southeast Asia as a small region owns about 40% of all the world's online shopping volume. So Utrust team currently is based in Switzerland, and they are launching in Amsterdam in April, which is kind of nice to see them all in the Europe area, but it would be nice to see them trying to penetrate the Asian market a little bit more. And to be honest, it's not that hard because the Korean and Southeast Asian population are very educated and receptive to cryptocurrency. You know, Korea, I think over 20% of its population are currently invested in cryptocurrency, as opposed to the world's stats in general, less than 1% are invested in cryptocurrency. Now, PayPal doesn't have to penetrate the Asian market. It's already very well known and well established. Most Asians who do online shopping will have a PayPal account already. So what I see is that if Utrust cannot penetrate the Asian market before PayPal gets its cryptocurrency payment set up, I think in future they will find it very, very hard to find a foothold in the market after that. Finally, let's look at price prediction. Currently, they are sitting at the price of 11 cents. Now, their ICO price, not the pre-ICO, but the ICO price was 6 cents. The reason we look at ICO price is because the market is very bad now and most coins are very low in price. However, almost every good project out there has not gone below their ICO price. So knowing the ICO price gives us an impression of the base as well as how far it's fallen or risen compared to when it first started. started. At the moment, 11 cents compared to 6 cents, it's almost double its ICO's price. So that's a pretty good sign that despite the very bad market, it hasn't fallen that far. But what is also good from an investor point of view is that its current price is very, very far dropped from its peak price back in January. That means that there's a lot of room for it to recover. So if it was ever to recover back to its peak price, okay, it doesn't even have to go higher than that, just to the peak price, we will be making a lot of gain. Okay. At its peak in January, it was sitting at $1.40. Okay, that's almost 13 times its current price. Now, the market has been very, very bearish. Okay, and many coins have dropped 60 to 80% compared to their January high. So, if you were to buy a coin, okay, that had dropped 80%, if it recovered to its all-time high, you would have made 5x gains already, right? But Utrust is sitting at a whooping 93% discount. It's sitting at 7% of its high, which means if it ever recovered back to its high, you will see not a 4 or 5x gain, you will see immediately a 13x gain, which means that in the entire market crash since January, Utrust has crashed harder than most other coins. Again, this is probably because it really just went under the radar, and a lot of the higher profile coins, altcoins especially, just took a larger share of the market compared to it. And that's crazy cheap. Okay, if you believe in this coin and you believe that it will recover its cost base at some point or go even higher. Now, considering that this price point, 11 cents, right, is after 4 months of being forgotten by the greater crypto community, and it's also the price point without a working platform yet. Okay, but the working products are starting to be released very soon. You've got a coin burn, and with the working product coming out at the end of this year, which also means more token use, it is very likely that prices will keep going up over in the long big picture scheme of things. I'm not saying that next week it will go up, but I'm saying that if you look at it 2 years from now, you will see a trend where the price just generally had been heading upwards. Okay, so meaning I'll be very surprised if I lost money buying into this project at this point in time. However, as we often say, we have limited fiat. So the question is not whether I will make a profit, but is there another project that will earn me more profit in the same period of time? That question, unfortunately, you will have to answer for yourself. As you look more into this project, you think about it, you weigh up about the potential competition and whether you think they can beat PayPal on the other blockchain payment platforms over the next couple of years. One final thing to consider is about the current market state. Prices in the entire crypto market is currently very, very low now, and it seems very tempting to jump in if we still have fiat. But some believe that the market is still going to dip even further, and I'll cover this bit of news tomorrow in our crypto news update. But every crypto price at the moment, including Utrust, seems to be led by the general market condition more than the actual tech and worth of the project. So the general market condition is certainly something worth paying attention to before you jump in to invest. And I have to throw in my disclaimer here. We are not financial advisors. This is just my personal opinion and thoughts on this project. We always recommend you to seek other sources of information as well as ours, because we are only human and we can be wrong. So please always do your own homework and make your own decisions. So in summary, I do like this project very much. I think they have a clear business plan, they have a great idea and early market advantage. Morally, I support them because I support blockchain and decentralization. As an investor, I'm not sure if I will invest right now because other pending considerations include the current market condition, whether or not Utrust can pick up momentum like it did last year, and whether or not it can outpace its competitors like PayPal. But if all the stars align and they go tick, 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 I might seriously consider investing into Utrust. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you like it, please give us a like and a subscribe. Also, let us know what coins or topics you would like us to cover so that we can cater our content just for you. At the moment, we have about 2 weeks worth of requested topics to do. But I've had a look at those topics and they are really good requests, and I'm really excited to bring those projects to you over the next few days to couple of weeks. Also, the market has been very volatile recently, so do make sure that you join us for our crypto news updates to keep up to date with the latest news and trends in the crypto market. I hope you're having a great Monday wherever you are, and we will catch you guys tomorrow.